Hi everybody. My name is Jerry Wise, and I'm a life and relationship coach, and I've been helping people learning about self-differentiation for 45 years. And this video is entitled Neutral Responses, the Power to Self-Differentiate. I hope you'll join my YouTube channel and you'll click the bell to be notified for new videos that come out. I also have a master class coming up. It should be in December or January. You can check on my website for that. And I hope you'll join me for that 4-hour master class that we'll be doing together. And it's on reactivity and reducing your reactivity. I think it will really help a lot of folks. So what are neutral responses? And neutral responses are very helpful as a means to stay yourself while connected with other people. Someone says to you, "I'm so upset that you're still dating that woman." Well, I'm sorry to hear you're upset. And again, it's a neutral response. I'm not addressing the push or pull or the defensive or being defensive or reactive. And I'm ignoring the issue that they have, which would be with me or you dating that woman. And I'm ignoring that issue, which is my issue and my choice, not theirs. So why would I address that? Why would I argue with them about who I'm dating? That's not for them to control or decide. So I'd simply say, well, I'm sorry to hear you're upset about that. Hey, you want to grab some lunch? I'm sorry to hear you're upset about that. Hey, how's Dad doing? Again, we are not pulled into the issue that they have. We stay more calm. We stay less reactive. So neutral responses are self-differentiation moves when other people are trying to bait us or pull us in with their issues or enmeshment. They are a don't take the bait responses is what they are. Because many times, if somebody says, "Are you still dating that woman?" They're baiting me about my dating life. Well, I don't need to sort that through with them. I don't need to get their approval. And remember, there are a couple of rules that are really important. You don't have to answer any question that everyone or anyone asks of you, except to a police officer, a judge, a boss, or something like that. You are not required to answer any question. But you also don't have to get reactive to not answer it. And second of all, you never have to address the issues that are yours, not theirs, even though they think it's an issue for them too. Obviously, in the first statement, they were upset, "I'm dating this woman," or "still dating this woman." Well, that's their issue if they're upset with me dating her. It's not my issue. And I don't have to address other people's emotional states. That will just get me pulled in and baited in. Neutral statements help us keep us more separate while staying connected. I don't have to run away, nor do I have to be reactive or conflictual with them. Reactivity causes more distance, I have to run away, or conflict. And conflict is a result of reactivity. Just as overfunctioning can be as a result of reactivity, triangles as a result of reactivity, running away a result of reactivity, or complying and giving in and just going along with whatever they say and trying to make them feel better about the issue is reactivity. Neutral responses guide and force us to deal with what we really need to deal with or to work on. If we stay neutral, it brings up our issues to the forefront. In other words, because a lot of people say, well, that's hard for me to do, Jerry. It's hard for me to be neutral. I know it's hard. I've been practicing it for decades. It takes practice, and it's not easy. And many people say, oh, it just seems so easy for you. No, it hasn't been easy. It's taken me a long time to develop a healthier self and neutral responses. And that helps to keep me calm and thinking rather than reactive and feeling. And then my thoughts get all jumbled up. And when you're challenged to give a neutral response, just like when I go to the person who says, are you still dating that woman? And I go, well, I'm sorry to hear that's upsetting to you. And then I stop, find out what that brings up for you. And often what would be brought up for me is I'm trying to get their acceptance and I'm acceptance seeking. I'm trying to get their approval and I'm approval seeking. I'm wishing they would know me better. I wish they had a better relationship with me. But all of those are immature wishes and wants. This is the way they are, and I'm accepting the way they are, but I have to deal with my neediness if I give a neutral response. And that's a healthy thing to do. Deal with your issues rather than trying to resolve those issues by, oh, well, let me tell you, she's really nice. I think you'd really like her. No, she's not like she used to be. And then I'm defensive, I'm reactive, and I'm trying for approval seeking. Neutral responses include 2 or 3 components. One is empathy or understanding. Second is declaring self. And thirdly, maybe being silent or saying less and not taking the bait. And when I said, oh my, you must be upset about that issue. Hey, what are we going to have for lunch? I was empathetic. I simply remained silent about the issue because it's not theirs to confront me with. It's my dating life. Why are they interfering in my dating life? Now, they could say, are you still dating that woman? And I could declare self, which is one of the components, and I could say, well, as a matter of fact, I am. I'm sorry you feel upset about that. Hey, what do you want to do today? Neutral responses include taking a stance that avoids their issues, their feelings, and their reactivity about my life. But I want to take a stance that it's not my circus, not my monkeys. If you're upset about me dating this woman, that's your monkeys, your circus. It's not mine. Because I get to decide who I date, for how long, in what way, or what kind of relationship I have. If you're upset by it, then we're enmeshed. Because adults respect other adults and respect other adults' choices. It doesn't mean we can't be caring or concerned if there's real problems with a relationship that we want to raise with another adult, but we do that respectfully, not reactively. Neutral responses help us to stay calm because often we engage others with our intensity and reactivity. And you can tell you're being reactive if you feel like you want to lecture, criticize, whine, complain, try to get acceptance, or try to be fused or have more togetherness or have this warm fusion that we have. Versus being neutral and non-judgmental and staying out of their circus. Because by me staying out of their circus, I'm telegraphing them to stay out of my circus. Who I'm dating is my circus, my monkeys. It's not your circus, your monkeys. Actually, this is a means by which we move closer to become more separate. I become empathetic, don't get into the issues that are theirs, And so I stay connected while being myself with a neutral response. And relationships are paradoxical. They're a paradox. To be closer, we need more separateness. To be more separate, we need more closeness. Both of those are true. And that's what neutral responses can help me with, is the second one. More separateness. To be more separate, we need to be closer. I'm engaging the person, but I'm not engaging in their monkeys, their circus about me. And so we actually are closer because I'm not rejecting them. I'm just not reacting to their reactivity. Neutral responses help us stay connected without cutting off and without being reactive. When our reactivity is activated by others, learning to give neutral responses help us reduce our reactivity and keeps us more calm and often has a positive effect on others. My coaching involves lots of role plays and using neutral and self-differentiating responses to grow ourselves up, to keep calm, and change the relationship dynamics and emotional process. Here's some examples of some neutral responses. Here's a detriangulation neutral response, because triangles often are a part of reactivity. A parent says, "Do you know what your sister did to me?" "No, but it must have upset you. I hope you've talked to her about it." "Not my circus, not my monkeys. Her circus, her monkeys. My sister's circus, her monkeys. But I can be concerned that she was upset. That's fine. I can be empathetic. Your husband told your father that he didn't really like the lamb we had for dinner. I think that is rude, and I hope you will talk to him, Mary." "Mom, I don't know if he said that or not. I assume he did, but maybe you or Dad could talk to him about what he said. I thought the lamb was great." "Not my circus, not my monkeys. Your upsetness doesn't become something I own. It becomes something you have to take responsibility for as an adult, and an adult relationship with other people, without me triangulating in it." Rather than, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Mom, that he said that. I'll go and talk to him. I hope everything's okay. I thought the lamb was great." Now I'm enmeshed. Now I'm looking for acceptance and approval. And now she's parenting me, and now I got to go parent my husband. Mary has to go parent her husband. And that's not going to work out well in their marriage. "Jerry, your son threw a cigarette butt in my flower garden." "Well, that seems rude. You may want to talk to him about that." Mom says, "But that is why I'm telling you. And that's why I'm telling you." "Mom, my parenting years stopped long ago. I would just go and talk to him about his behavior or rudeness or insensitivity." Not my circus, not my monkeys. If my son's 35 years old, why am I supposed to go parent him? Because he did something you didn't like. You go and talk to him as an adult. And in fact, he'd probably be happy to talk with you about that and, might apologize or whatever. But still, not my monkey, not my circus. Saying no without feeling guilty responses are part of neutral responses we can have. "I want you and your family to be here on Christmas Eve for supper, and you probably should arrive about 5 p.m. And because of the dating of this video, the holidays are coming up. "I know we've always come to your house, Dad, on Christmas Eve, but we've decided to do something special for our family Christmas Eve this year. So I'd like to plan a different day and time with you and Mom." You have to be kidding, Dad said. No kid of mine would not show up for Christmas Eve dinner. Shame. Why didn't you tell us sooner? Guilt. It's already October and we're planning our normal family gathering with all the family. Well, Dad, we just recently decided this and we felt 2 months' notice would be enough and plenty of time to let you know. But, well, you know this will cause us as a family not to be with everyone on the same day, and it will upset everybody, and your mom will feel hurt. Well, Sally and I are looking forward to something different and special for our own family this Christmas Eve. We would be available any other time to get together, Dad. Now, if you notice, I didn't, not my circus, not my monkeys, that everyone else would be upset. Mom would be hurt. I'm not making anybody be hurt. I'm declaring something that I would like to do as an adult and with my own family. I don't have to fix everybody's feelings about that. Now, I could be more empathetic and say, I'm sure this change probably would be, and I think I even said, I'm sure that might feel disappointing, Dad. So I can be empathetic. I'm sure Mom might be disappointed. My siblings might be disappointed. But this is something that, Sally and I want to do. And just because they're disappointed doesn't mean I have to live under the threat that if they're disappointed, I'd better change. Welcome to the world of disappointment. We all have disappointments. And I'm not doing this with any malice. If you notice in my response, I share some empathy. I declared myself of what we wanted to do. I stayed silent about some things I have no control over, like how everyone will be upset. I can't fix all of that and don't need to. It's not for me to fix anyway. And if you'd like, Dad, I could say, if you'd like, Dad, I'd be happy to tell Mom and tell the siblings what Sally and I plan to do this year. So I'm willing to take the heat from them, but I'll do the same neutral responses with them and go, I'm sure it's disappointing, but this is what we've chosen to do. And so I would talk with each one individually. I don't have to have Dad go tell them all. Dad, I'm willing to go and talk to everybody. Don't worry about that. It's my choice. And I don't have to triangle through Mom and Dad to tell siblings and everybody. Then everybody gets in an uproar and it becomes a major triangulated mess. I care about the feelings of others, but I keep my foot nailed to the floor so I can only go around in these circles and not be persuaded to give in or to comply. So I want my foot nailed to the floor this is what we're doing for Christmas Eve, and we're not doing what we've always done with the family for Christmas Eve. I'm just nailing my foot to the floor. Now, I don't mind talking about how empathetic I feel or how that may feel disappointing or hurtful to Mom, if that's what she's going to feel. But I have no control over that. They are not my monkeys, not my circus. I care, but it's still not my circus. Those are your feelings, not feelings I'm making everybody have. Because believe it or not, a family could be, well, I understand that. Why don't we plan another day? Or why don't you get together with the siblings at this time, Mom and Dad at this time? I mean, there's lots of options. To work on neutral responses, we can learn to do these things because it takes practice. And again, I've had people share with me, oh, Jerry, you're just so good at those neutral responses. You just know what to say. There were long, long years I had no idea what to say. And I would say the wrong things. I would get reactive. I would try to comply. I would try to fix everybody's feelings. I did all of that. Then I began to work on giving neutral responses in a calm way, which calms me down and many times helps to keep the other person calm down. Because Calmness can be contagious if you hold on to it. You can first write down what they might challenge you about. Write down your possible responses that are non-reactive. Or as I've talked about, what would Betty do? What would Betty say? Think you're the neighbor, and how would your neighbor respond to your parents about changing Christmas Eve? Or how would Betty share with them about not being able to come to Christmas Eve? Somebody who's detached and not enmeshed. What would Betty say? Or you can say, what would Jerry say? I have a lot of people who do that too and say, well, I'm trying to think, well, what would Jerry say in this situation? You can write down your possible responses and practice them so you do not go into autopilot or reactivity pilot when you are addressing difficult or highly charged situations. Use a calm and mature voice. Make sure you are calm. You can even keep it low level. Don't make it high level volume. Now, there may be a challenge. And they may say, oh, well, this can't be. We got to change this. What would you say if they said, and you probably know what their challenge would be. What would be your next response? What would their next challenge be? What would your next response be? And if you have that worked out ahead of time, you'll be a lot more calmer and be ready. And many times we can predict the behavior of other people in our family. We know exactly what they're going to say. Because when I do role plays with clients, they know exactly what their families would say. And then I would say this, and I'd say, well, what would your sister say to that? What would your husband say if I said that? And they know. Because we know what those responses are going to be for the most part. You can prepare your neutral, non-reactive responses. And of course, whenever we make a change, there's 3 stages of resistance to go through. Why are you doing this? Secondly, you need to stop doing this. And fourthly, stop doing this or else. And if we can stay calm, neutral, and non-reactive through all those stages, then a greater acceptance tends to come over time. And we're training others to experience and accept the new me without doing harm, without doing damage. I don't have to yell or be in conflict or overfunction or triangulate, or I don't have to do any of those things. In me choosing to be me. Over time, they're going to go, well, you know how Jerry is. He's just going to do whatever he wants to do. Well, good. That's what I want to do in my life, is do whatever I want to do. I'm an adult. I get to do that. Now, that doesn't mean I don't care about my family or care about my spouse, care about my kids. I care about neighbors. I care about everyone. But I still have a right to do what I want to do as an adult. I want to share with you, I've got that 4-hour masterclass coming up probably in December or January, taught by me. We will be sending out notices to everyone on our email list, reducing your reactivity. I hope you'll click subscribe, click the bell so you can be notified when new videos come out. Join as a YouTube member. That really helps us to produce these videos. It only costs $1.99 a month. And you can join as a YouTube member, and you can see the button for join and become a paid member for $1.99 a month. And that helps us produce these videos for you. I hope you'll follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I want to thank you for joining me today. Have a great day. And be wise. Hi, everybody. My name is Jerry Wise, and I'm a life and relationship coach. And I've been helping people for 40 plus years to self-differentiate, to overcome codependency and addictive relationships, as well as other things. I use a family systems approach to helping people learn how to self-differentiate using a Bowen Family Systems model. Right now, I'd like you to join my YouTube membership. You can just press join and go on there, and you can watch exclusive content. Doesn't cost very much, as low as a couple dollars a month, and get that exclusive content, which I'm going to be adding to. Also, you can see other benefits on there too. So click join and click the bell so that you can get notified when I send out a new video. I work with adult children of narcissists, adult children of alcoholics, and other adult children issues, codependence, family problems, business problems, career problems, life direction coaching as well. In addition, I have a team of others who want to share, to help those who want to share their message and get their ideas out to the world on YouTube and on social media, websites, social media marketing, etc., because I want to make the world a better place. I'm old. I have a birthday coming up soon, and I won't be here all that long. I hope for a while, but not all that long, and I'd like to leave this place a better place. This program is entitled Breaking the Narcissist Trance. Narcissists are, as the AA Big Book says, and it describes alcoholism as cunning, baffling, and powerful. Narcissists are cunning, baffling, and powerful. One author, Dr. Linda Hatch, stated, narcissists are not like hypnotists, they literally are hypnotists. They take over. They balm us with love and our fantasies about being loved. We start feeling pleasantly passive and entertained by the narcissist and their charm and their positivity. We forget our past pains and struggles and see a new horizon with a person to live happily with. Narcissists don't try to make you feel loved, unlike compulsive seducers. They make you feel that life is good and you are loved because you are their best and biggest fan. As most of us know, if you are in a relationship with a narcissist, you will sooner or later begin to feel that you are never getting listened to, and there's never any real connection, and there's never an easy exchange of ideas. That only occurs in the honeymoon phase with a narcissist. So how do we break this narcissist trance? And I work with people every day who are struggling with that. Many people use Patrick Carnes' notion, trauma bonding, and I think he was one of the first ones who coined that. And it's a very powerful and such a strong bond that we don't want to betray it. We just want to justify the actions and words of others. We just can't let go. We get caught in a cognitive dissonance and in this unhealthy relationship with a narcissist, whether it be a parent, a friend, a sibling, a spouse, a fiance. And when I began to look and research about breaking this trance, and you can find a few things online about breaking the trance, and I read about 30 or so solutions, different sites on trauma bonding and breaking the spell with the narcissist. But I think there's a number of them that are missing. And there's a number of ways that we can work on that trance that I didn't find out there. And I'd like to share some of those with you today. First of all, break your family of origin trance or spell. Sometimes it can be easier to work on the family of origin trance which then releases you more with a narcissist, or with a spouse, or with a girlfriend, or boyfriend, or sibling, or cousin, or whoever we might be in a trance with who are narcissists. Often those of us who arrive at a place where we are in a relationship with a narcissist, we have been operating in the super self of our family of origin. And that family of origin trance has blinded us for years. And now we move to a narcissistic relationship, and now we have two trances, which is what makes the bond so hard to break. We have a previous trance, and then we have a secondary trance of the narcissist. And so many people have such a hard time breaking addictive relationships or relationships with the narcissist. Enmeshment, or too much fusion emotionally, has blinded us to our relationship and our family of origin. And it will blind us with our adult relationships as well. Rules, roles, words, actions, and beliefs comprise this family trance. Because we play out our roles, we operate by these rules, we believe what we've been taught, we know the words and language that has been given to us in our family of origin, and now we're in their trance. Now we have a new trance, which is the narcissist, in which we then play that role in the relationship with the narcissist, the words, the actions, the beliefs, the rules, and we find ourselves in a new family of origin, which is now our relationship in the present. We are subsumed, or we are taken up under that super self of the family. It's the one self that the family participates in, and you're supposed to operate within that one self called the family. And we reenact that with the narcissist. We search for and find another super self to connect with. The narcissist enters. Now we're entranced by the narcissist and the family of origin. Then we wonder why it's so difficult to leave, to detach, to get away. So I first recommend do your family of systems or recovery work to break free from the narcissist. Work on what was going on and is going on in your family of origin, because they're in you. Work on that. It may be more easy to break the trance of the narcissist. Secondly, do an intentional funeral. This is a method that I've suggested to a lot of people, and I work with folks often when they can't let go, or they're in a trance, or they just can't get over a relationship, and it's an unhealthy relationship. They know it's an unhealthy relationship. They know it's an unhealthy relationship, but they cannot let go. So then we do the feelings work, and a funeral brings out that letting go part. And so we do a funeral, which simply means you take a couch, put pillows along, put a pillow at the head, just like it's a body, put a sheet over it, have it casket-like, and then you can have candles, music, you can do a eulogy, you can share whatever you want to share at this funeral so that you can say goodbye. The more you get into it, the more you can feel it and begin to say goodbye and to let them go. It may involve tears, anger, hurt, shame, regrets, and resentments. But of course, doing this funeral doesn't harm anybody. It's your own self-work that you're doing. Because doing these kinds of things with a narcissist will only keep you entrapped or encased in the relationship even more. Thirdly, expel the feelings about the narcissistic relationship intentionally versus reactively. And what I find a lot of folks will do is they will have feelings, intense feelings about the narcissist in the relationship and how bad it is. And they'll reactively go and talk to their friends about it, reactively even talk to the narcissist about it, which won't do any good. They'll reactively go talk to other people. And in that reactivity, we end up rehearsing the feelings rather than expelling them. And so we want to intentionally do it, and you can do it when you're feeling better and not reactive. I will have people journal, I'll have people write a letter, and when you're not reactive, do those things, write them out, and then express them and express those feelings in a big way. And then I've even had them go out in a field somewhere, go to a park where nobody can even hear you, and scream it if you have to. Say it intensely. Nobody's going to get hurt. Nobody's going to be offended. These are your feelings. Go out and expel those feelings as you express them, because you're giving yourself permission to feel them and not just rehearsing them reactively. Because when we rehearse, they don't go anywhere. When we do it intentionally, then we have more healing and wholeness. Expel the pain, expel the anger, expel the confusion. Fourthly, move into what you don't want. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Many people come to me and say, well, I want to let him or her go. I want to let my mom go. I want to let my child go who's a narcissist, or my mother, or my sister. I want them out of my life. I want them out of me. But of course, whenever we want them to be out, that means they're not out yet. So I tell them, I don't think you're ready yet. So what I would suggest is to accept that I'm not ready to let them go. And they find that very difficult. What do you mean I'm not ready to let them go? I'm in deep pain. This is horrible. And I so want to let them go. Jerry, wave your magic wand so that this will be done. Well, if I could do that, number one, I'd be so rich, it wouldn't even be unbelievable, and I'd be on a beach somewhere. Of course I can't do that. And so what I say is, let's get together with yourself. And then you may find letting go will be much easier. So let's talk about, can you say, I'm not ready to let them go yet? And say it, and say it. And you can see how I'm saying moving into something you don't want. Because everyone wants to avoid that. Everyone wants to push that away. Because they don't want to say, I'm not ready. I am ready. I'm in so much pain. What are you talking about, Jerry? No, you're just in a lot of pain. That doesn't mean you're ready to let them go. So we move towards it. Fifthly, we can identify what the downsides would be for letting them go. Would I fear being alone? What are the downsides of me doing this good thing that I want? Because there's negative consequences for doing something positive. And that's what we know in a family systems way and approach, kind of a paradoxical way to think about it, that good behavior can have negative consequences. Negative behavior can actually have some positive consequences and effects on a system. So if I let them go, what would happen? I'd feel alone. I'd feel guilty. I'd have to accept the reality that my relationship is really broken and they're not going to get fixed. I have to come to terms with my broken fantasies about love and this relationship and what I always wanted. I would have to give those up. And so I don't want to give all those up. I don't want to experience those. So we hold on to not letting them go. Accept you are not ready to let them go. You can say, I still want to stay emotionally connected to my narcissist. I'm not ready to let go of my parent who is a narcissist. I'm not ready to let go of my child who is a narcissist. I am not yet ready to do that. And you might be surprised how calm it may make you feel. And by the way, when I say you're not ready to let go, it doesn't mean you won't let go or can't let go. It's just I want you to come to yourself and where you're really at. Then amazingly, it starts to loosen up that trance and that bond. Sixthly, and I have seen some folks talk about this. Keep the negatives in your pocket and review them often about a narcissistic relationship. Journal about the negatives. Do it when you feel good or the relationship has slightly improved. And what I like is to do it when things are better. Don't do it just when things are bad. Do it when things are better. That's a more effective time to take out the list and look at those negatives. Seventh, remember, whatever a narcissist says is equivalent to them calling you a Coca-Cola. Jerry, have you lost your mind? No. If someone, and I remember working with if someone would say to me, Jerry, I really don't think you're a very good coach at all, and I'm very disappointed, I might inquire about that and go, I wonder why they say that. I'd like to hear more about that. But if somebody says, Jerry, you're the worst coach, or in my past, therapist in the world, then I know that's Coca-Cola talk, because that's not even possible. So I wonder what's going on. And I also remember working with very severe psychiatric patients who are hospitalized and inpatient, and I did the family therapy with them for many years. And again, if they said something to me, like I remember one patient who had said he was a member of the German royal family in a delusional state and said, and Jerry, they all disapprove of you. How upset would I be? I wasn't upset at all. I knew it was delusional. But yet we give validation to the narcissist who says as crazy things about us. You're stupid. You're dumb. You're ugly. That's all delusional and irrational. And so I think of it as, they're just calling me a Coke. Well, that doesn't make any sense. And it helps me to be less reactive and to break the spell of giving too much weight to what they say. And I've told people, think of your narcissist as a schizophrenic, delusional person. And then it tends to feel less painful because it's like, well, they're crazy. They can say whatever they want, and it's ludicrous. Sixth. We're at eighth. Eighth. Have a dialogue with your inner child. What does he or she want or feel or need? Listen to your inner child, or accept that you're not ready to listen to your inner child. And maybe you're not ready to listen to her or him. But your little child has a lot of information for you and can be a good guide for you, because that's the person you're now parenting. You're now the parent of your inner child. And often we will push them out when we're in a relationship with a narcissist and keep the inner child out. And we don't listen to their pain, to their struggling, and us standing up for them. Because I may not feel worth standing up for as an adult, but boy, it's hard. Am I going to stand up for my little Jerry? Ooh, that's a little different. And it helps kind of relieve some of the trance that we feel. Ninth, fall in love with your recovery. If you want something to fall in love with, fall in love with your recovery. Books, meetings, coaching, therapy, learning. Fall in love with that recovery, because that's a way of falling in love with you. 10th, practice open access to outside knowledge, to the internet, videos, podcasts, coaches, therapists, friends, religious leaders, Christian friends, Muslim friends, people who care about you. Practice openness to that information, because we need to change our paradigm to break the trance, and practice that openness. 11th, change your questions. Change your questions from, why does he or she do this? Or how do I get him or her to stop? Change them to, why do I accept this? Why am I focusing on them? And change the questions back to you. Now, I understand that when we tend to resist letting go of the narcissist, there are downsides in which we can fear of abandonment, loss of finances or money, loss of acceptance of his or her family or your own family, fear of loneliness, fear of the anger and rejection, fear of no one will ever want me. This is my third marriage, so I must make it work no matter what, or I'm doomed. And of course, all of that, oftentimes many of those fears are not fully realizable. Some can be, because we can have financial damage, as I have had in the past. You can have financial damage, you can have rejection, you can have smear campaigns, which I find often as someone is in a relationship with a narcissist and they start to break the trance, then the smear campaign can begin. And by the time they get out, the narcissist has certainly convinced everybody that you're the worst person in the world. Only they don't know the whole story. They don't know the real story. It's a Coca-Cola story. And everybody's drinking the Coke. 12th, practice this. Observe and don't absorb. You've heard me say that in other videos. We truly want to observe and not absorb. ABSORB. And that there are two things that are important. When you're dealing with them, the narcissist, stay in your head. Stay in the adult. Get in your feelings when you're not dealing with them directly. Stay from here on up. When you deal with them directly, deal with these apart from them. And what I actually find is people do the opposite. When they're dealing with the narcissist, they're all reactive and dealing down here and not thinking. Then they leave the narcissist and then obsess because they have that reversed. And I think we can learn to reverse that. Here, when we're dealing with them, here, away from them. And that will help with the trance. I hope you will follow me on my YouTube channel. And you can join a membership there. I have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Join a silver or gold plan on my website, and you can join a monthly group call for those who are members. And I want to today thank you very much for joining me. Have a great day, and be wise. Hi everyone, my name is Jerry Wise. I'm a life and relationship coach, and I have been helping people with self-differentiation and recovery for some 45 years or so. and this video is entitled Systems Anxiety and Narcissists. This video is to help those who are in a relationship with a narcissist, or for those who are recovering from being in a relationship with a narcissist. I've been sharing several videos on my channel about systems anxiety, which I think is such an important topic, and I would recommend you watch the video Calmness is Everything, which is a longer video of mine that was commissioned by someone for me to make. And it's a very good video talking about systems anxiety and how important calmness is. This is another video, and I want to talk again about how important being calm, what the recovery benefits are for working towards that, particularly if you're dealing with narcissists. Often, many times, people want a quick fix and a simple three steps to being free from the trouble of being in a relationship with a narcissist, or 3 steps to feel better and things will just go great. And I wanted that as well. I remember years ago, that's something I was looking for too. And I would read hundreds, if not thousands, of self-help books. I remember donating about 1,000 books to a seminary that I attended and a graduate school, because I had read the books. And again, most of them were linear, individualistic, cause and effect type of self-help books. And very few of them, if any, had any notions about functioning, systems anxiety, having a systems approach, having a family systems approach, which I found greatly helpful in my own recovery. And so I understand how I just, tell me what I should do so that it will be better. That's kind of a quick fix question. When someone said, just tell me what to do. Well, because it's not just about telling you what to do. It's how you are functioning in this puzzle, how you're functioning in the system with a, with a narcissist, how you're functioning in the system with the family of origin within you, how you function in your relationships. So it's not a simple answer of just do this or just do that. There are some things that are helpful. If somebody says, how do I avoid jumping out of this plane without a parachute? Don't jump out of the plane. That's a very quick fix, cause and effect, simple solution to that. But when you talk about relationships, and when you talk about our inner functioning, it's often not just don't jump out of the plane. There's much more going on than that. And the more pieces we take in, the more we understand about the system, the more we will be able to function with better direction. We'll be able to formulate the problems better, and then also formulate the solutions better, rather than just recycling our same old patterns over and over again. And I see the way out as a more long-term, courageous, patient, and less anxious way of recovery, of understanding the system and our functioning, strategizing changes, and strategizing the change, and implementing and practicing what we know strategically and tactically, based on our understanding of the system. Well, we have to learn about the system first so that we know how to function in it. Because if you use a cause and effect, for example, a cause and effect solution to a problem, it may tell you to turn left. However, if you use a systems understanding, it may then advise you or show you to turn right, then turn left. But if you just turn left, you're probably going to fall back into the old pattern again eventually. And so it may say turn right, then turn left. And so I think taking in more information is what's important, and affects how we, how we understand relationships. Just like if someone walks by you, and they're using a cane to get by you and step on your foot and don't even look back and keep on walking, you then feel angry or upset or irritated that someone just stepped on your foot and just kept on walking. Based on what you know, that's how you respond. And in fact, you may want to go punch the guy. We don't, but I'm saying, we feel irritated. Then we discover when the guy goes up and does whatever he's doing, then comes back, he's blind. He doesn't even know what he's stepping on. He doesn't even see where he's going. Adding that to the mix, because now I have a bigger understanding of what just happened, my feelings change. My thoughts change. A lot of things change in terms of how I understand this problem and what solution I wouldn't go and confront him. I wouldn't go punch him. You see how we would change with more information? And so we change with more information in the system. And that's what I've determined to try to help people to change by giving them more information about the system. Firstly, if we have a narcissistic parent or family member or family or friends, or we're in a relationship with a narcissist relationship is a high anxiety endeavor. It is a very high anxiety endeavor. Often, high anxiety is the norm in these relationships. Both acute anxiety and chronic anxiety, or unconscious intergenerational anxiety. And often both of these are at DEFCON 5 or DEFCON 4, whatever the numbers are for DEFCON, in terms of when we start a nuclear strike. And often they're so very high. And let me describe, acute anxiety is a threat that is something that triggers my fight or flight process or response in a conscious way. Chronic anxiety is the emotional field that includes intergenerational chronic anxiety, which is often unconscious, but it is also a fight or flight process. And we tap into the supply of chronic anxiety that we held in the family superself. The family superself holds this chronic anxiety. And it's the intergenerational inherited anxiety and functioning. And if you've got both chronic and acute anxiety being triggered at very high levels, and in a narcissistic relationship, they often are, high levels frequently, often, except when there's maybe love bombing going on or some other type of soothing, or maybe you have the toxic positive narcissistic behavior where they just want everything to be positive and good and great. But again, they are the thermometer for how the relationship should be. Narcissistic relationships require us to be in acute anxiety, and that our chronic family of origin anxiety is constantly triggered. Why is that? Because being in a relationship with a narcissist, parent, friend, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, they are unpredictable relationships. They're overreactive. They're hypersensitive relationships. Often the narcissist will take everything personally. They don't like to share influence with other people. The non-empathy is crazy making when they do not demonstrate empathy. There's often lots of blaming, and they don't take responsibility for their own behaviors and own choices. And if you have and there are many other traits also. But at least if you have all of these all require us to be in a state of anxiety and triggers our limbic system to be reactive, just almost daily, hourly, And so in a relationship, with a narcissist, high anxiety is easily triggered. And the last thing a narcissist wants is for you to stay calm and for you to be thinking. That's the last thing a narcissist wants. And it messes up the whole narcissistic relationship. They thrive as a part of their narcissistic supply on you being highly anxious. The anxiousness and the reactivity of others is a part of their supply. And it's also a way they control as well. Because if you're always doing that list of things I was telling you about, manipulation, lying, if you're always doing those things, it keeps everybody's anxiety way up on high on a 10 scale. And while they're just floating along with non-empathy and not caring. And so they can think things through pretty easily. We're discombobulated because of the anxiety. Narcissists want to shed their shame and their anxiety onto others. Higher anxiety triggers acute and chronic anxiety. If you don't believe me, try staying calm and thoughtful in the presence of a narcissist. I've talked to many narcissists. It is quite a challenge to stay calm, non-reactive, and thoughtful when interacting with a narcissist, even on a professional basis, because they keep throwing, as we call, poop in the game, though we use other words. They keep throwing poop in the game with their lack of empathy, their lack of insight, their entitlement, their grandiosity, all those things. And it takes normal people, or normal neurotic people, that's what I mean, normal us, we're just normal neurotic, and it keeps our anxiety way up high because of their behaviors and how their personality operates. While chronic and acute anxiety are a part of any relationship, for the narcissistic relationship, these need to be highly charged and are highly charged often. Why is it that the narcissist would not want you to be calm and thoughtful? Because calm and thoughtful is harder to control. Anxious and reactive is much easier for the narcissist to control. We become over-focused on our anxiety and our intensity, and over-focused on managing the narcissist, that there's little left for the self. So we're always in a tense or anxious state. We're always worried about what can we do to change them, and we get lost in the whole process. And so our functioning gets lost. Let's take, for example, you're in a narcissistic marriage. You have a narcissistic partner or spouse. Someone hits your car. It's not your fault. You have acute anxiety. You might feel nervous, angry, fearful. You might be fearful about how the narcissist is going to respond, your spouse's response. There's paperwork you're going to have to do, repairs you're going to have to do. You have the adrenaline response because you've been hit in a car. And you may have PTSD or anxiety disorders that are much more conscious and aware. Then we have the more unconscious anxiety, which is the deeper anxiety from way back here in the limbic system. It gets fired or triggered, and we feel like a child with the narcissist spouse. We may feel worthless. We may feel shame. These are systems feelings as in terms of how we have been functioning. We may feel helpless, or I must play the one down role, or I'm always in trouble role, or I'm a mess up, which isn't one of those old roles. And those feelings are triggered by this unconscious anxiety that flows throughout our family of origin system and through us as well. And so a part of the healing and recovery has to do with reducing that by detachment, neutrality, more calmness from our family of origin. Understand when it happens, how it happens, and also focusing on ourselves and not just flying on automatic, but we fly on manual. We use a manual approach, because if you fly on automatic, you're just going to do what you've always done, felt what you always felt, had negative thoughts that you've always had. It's just going to be the same old if we go on automatic. Secondly, and I would recommend you watch till the end of the video for some help with some calmness, though I really like, calmness is everything. I have some other videos on calmness or systems feelings. I would take a look at that. There's a good video on systems feelings versus true feelings. I think it's called True Feelings versus Systems Feelings is the name of the video. When we go no contact, let's say, with a narcissist or a narcissistic family or a narcissistic parent, it will be important that we reduce acute and chronic anxiety. That will help reduce us going back if we've decided to go no contact. It helps us to live more freely from our chronic and acute anxiety that got us into the narcissistic relationship in the first place. And I realize narcissists are manipulative and lie, and there's all kinds of things they're doing to get us into the relationship. And then we have our chronic anxiety and our functioning that also supports us into the relationship. Also, if we can reduce that chronic and acute anxiety, we can then develop a real self versus a reactive self that comes from that reactive super self that we were born into in our family of origin. And what happens is we can end up, kind of pretending or having a pseudo recovery or pretending to be mature. And when I think about no contact, there's mature no contact and then there's immature no contact. Mature no contact is, or let me talk about the immature no contact. The immature no contact is when we have cut off from the narcissist, maybe a good thing, because they may not be a good person to be in a relationship with, not a good dynamic for you. They may be abusive, etc. And so we cut off from them, but we're still experiencing lots of acute and chronic anxiety. A healthier, more mature cutoff, no contact, is when we are working through our acute anxiety and understanding our chronic anxiety from our family of origin and keeping it down and lower and working on our identifying how we function in emotional systems. And if we do that, then we have a much more durable no contact than what I would consider a non-durable no contact. Because if we have all this anxiety chronically and acutely, again, we're more likely to get caught back up in the system again. And we want a durable detachment. This occurs when we reduce our acute anxiety. And here's one of the immaturities about going no contact for some people. Oh, well, just go no contact. Well, okay. I mean, that may be a help because it may reduce acute anxiety, but it may not reduce chronic anxiety. which really fuels our functioning in our life. And to reduce that chronic anxiety, we want to learn how we function or functioned in our family of origin, seeing the hot potato of anxiety going around our family when we were growing up and even in present. We want to see how we operate. And many people don't see how they operate. They just operate. They don't see how they operate. And seeing is so important. Systems feelings are learned and imprinted. Again, we have this triggering of anxiety, then we feel shame, guilt, worthless, etc. And we have systems feelings from this chronic anxiety. Learning our immaturities. What are our immaturities? Learning self-acceptance and experiencing, not just learning, experiencing self-acceptance. And again, self-acceptance reduces acute and chronic anxiety, just like calmness reduces acute and chronic anxiety. It also reduces family of origin triggered feelings and thoughts, and in fact reduces intergenerational trauma in our cells, DNA, body memory, embryonic memory. There's a whole science around that in terms of how all of this stuff is transmitted to us biologically, psychologically, within our family. Thirdly, to keep systems anxiety out of the emotional field, we want to stay as close to calm as possible. To keep systems anxiety out of the emotional field, we want to reduce the power of the misery storm produced by the narcissist by working on detachment and reducing, absorbing the emotions and beliefs of the narcissist. And again, as our anxiety goes up, chronic and acute, we then tend to absorb the feelings, the beliefs of others, and particularly, say, in this case, the narcissist. Working on these skills allow us to think with more clarity, recognize we are separate from the narcissist, using the old tennis net approach, which I do, is I want to see this relationship like it is a tennis game. They're on one side of the net, I'm on the other side of the net. Neither of us jump over the other side of the net. If they are upset, that doesn't mean I have to be upset. If they believe one thing, it doesn't mean I have to believe that thing. They are them, I am me. We are different, and that's differentiation. We want to increase our self-empathy as well, which also helps us to reduce our anxiety, increasing self-empathy, caring for self, thinking about self, seeing self as someone you want to nurture, take care of, and love. And then we will experience a more solid sense of self. Systems anxiety produces systems feelings, trigger us to do the most unhelpful dysfunctional patterns or behaviors. And it extends our family of origin or childhood patterns into our adult present. Triangles, pursuing and distancing, or avoidance and enmeshing, overfunctioning, underfunctioning for the self, peace-mongering. You know, we hear warmongering. Somebody's just always trying to start war. Well, we're always trying to start peace. Well, we may need to focus on ourselves rather than just making everything okay for everyone and the system. Hustling for love and acceptance. Many ACONs, adult children of narcissists or spouses of narcissists or siblings, ask me, and they will ask me this question, and this may help you to understand. They'll unspokenly ask me this way. Jerry, while I'm at a 10 on a 10 scale of anxiety, and I feel reactive and overwhelmed with negative thoughts, what should I do? And what should I say? And how should I function in this way? And many times they ask out of that, I'm totally overwhelmed. I'm so anxious, I can't even see straight. Now, Jerry, tell me what to do. And the first thing I would say is, don't do anything. If you're at that level of anxiety, don't do anything, because whatever you do is probably going to ultimately make it worse. Ultimately, there may be a momentary calm, but ultimately it's probably not going to make it better, and you'll probably just be functioning in the same status quo. And my thought is, no matter what you say or do in this situation or in this high anxiety state, it will probably maintain the status quo. In very early recovery, ACONs will ask, well, in a high anxiety and flooded with systems feelings, how do I behave to change my parent or our relationship, say a spouse, for the better? And I'm going, no, you're already jumping to how to change the relationship. Let's work on reducing your anxiety first so you can function better and think better. And so many times it's kind of amazing if you can help someone stop, reflect, become aware, and see more dynamics going on and see more of the system that's happening. You often don't have to tell them what to do. They will then go, oh, this is what I need to do. The answer is already there. It's so overwhelmed with all of this anxiety. So if I can help them reduce the calmness about this and reduce their anxiety about this, they can come to a better decision. So what would I advise you do? I would advise you to read some books on self-differentiation. Go to my website and click contact on there and write me for the list of self-differentiation books. And many of them will talk about this anxiety that we deal with, because I think anxiety is such a key for society, for relationships, and it's a way out. It's a better way of formulating the problems and better way out of the problems. I also, in working with clients, and we have me and my staff who work at Jerry Wise Relationship Systems. You can contact us to work with us directly. I think of the 4 Ps: perceive, which is becoming self-aware, see how you function in this anxious situation; predict, how can we predict the responses of other people; and then practice our new responses given our new awareness; and then we are persistent and make the new behavior more of a habit. And it also brings the anxiety down in the system over time. Even like a statement simply as much as, I understand, but that's not how I see it. Or I understand what you're saying, but that's not how I see it. Even a simple differentiation statement like that can make a big difference. I want to remind you there's a workshop coming up this Saturday on July 17th of 21, 1 to 5. I hope you'll sign up using the link below. You can go to my website and look on events. I think the workshop's also on the front page of the website. I hope today was helpful to you. And I know sometimes it's difficult to teach these things, and maybe I'm a faulty vessel to communicate these things, but I hope there were a few things that I shared today that could be of help to you. I want to thank you for watching. Have a great day, and be wise. Hi, my name is Jerry Wise. Codependency. If everyone else is okay, I'm okay. I consider that the codependence model or the codependence motto for life. And I think it's common for those of us who have experienced codependency in our lives and are dealing with the pain of codependency, which is a part of this video as well. I want to talk about the pain of codependency and how we are very focused on making sure everyone else around us is happy, and that our own happiness and our own sense of self is usually very low on our priority list. So what is codependency? We tend to be, as a result, lack a sense of self. We tend to be over responsible because we make up for other people's deficits. We tend to be very caretaking in our behaviors and in our relationships. We value ourselves on a low scale. We value others to a pretty high scale or high degree. We tend to be overly nice, which can flip into being overly angry or reactive, and then going back to overly nice. The way in which we experience our own self, we lack a self-definition and self-differentiation when we navigate our emotional systems and our relationships, and not having that self, which is a good compass or a good rudder on our ship, since that ship is not ruddered by ourselves or sense of self. It tends to be navigated and ran by everyone else, and what everyone else thinks and everyone else wants, and what everyone else thinks is good for us. And in doing that, we find ourselves often shipwrecked, and it creates a lot of pain for us as a result of that shipwreck, because we're not the one captaining that ship. Everyone else is. And we're hoping that if we let everyone else be in at the helm of our ship, that they will like us, love us, take care of us, and in those ways we then find what I consider happiness. It's a codependent happiness, but it's not the deep sense of healthy, mature satisfaction and happiness. It's more superficial and more fleeting. A lot of codependents, particularly before they get into recovery, experience a lot of pain with their codependency. The bad thing about pain is that pain hurts. The good thing about pain is that it can motivate us to change and help us to gain insight in what we need to change. Pain can be an indicator for us to show us where we need to fix things. And for codependents, once that pain reaches an extreme or a critical mass, or we flip over the line of pain in our lives where it becomes virtually intolerable, then we get help, and then we go try to find out what do we need to do to change our lives. Unfortunately, that can be a wait of many years, and we find ourselves in a marriage of, say, 20 years, and we've got kids in our lives, and we find, gosh, I'm just not happy. All I've done is take care of everybody else. All I've done is work for everybody else, try to make sure everybody else is taken care of and happy, and I find I'm not very happy. And now I've lived this life, and I'm just not very happy at this point. And then things begin to break down. So what are some of those things that I would call the pain of codependency? If we live our lives the way I described at the beginning of the video, we then have, as a result, exhaustion, in which we just get tired because all we're doing is just over and over again we're worrying about focusing on other people, their needs. Are they happy? Are they staying out of trouble? Are they progressing in their lives? Our focus is on others and very little to any focus on ourselves. I want to talk about and mention, when I talk about a sense of self, often that comes up in conflict with a lot of religious or theological teachings, because a lot of us have grown up in churches, synagogues, temples, religious houses in which we have been taught that self should be looked on not only with maybe suspicion, but even as anti-God or anti-spirituality, that a sense of self-denial is what is valued, that we should not be selfish. And I believe those religious tenets are not bad tenets. They're not bad teachings. It's just that if you've grown up as a codependent, then we can read Scripture and read Bible and read spirituality in a way that's not very healthy. In other words, we'll leave out the passages like in the Bible which are know thyself and those kinds of things in which we really do need to have a sense of self so that we can be the spiritual person we need and want to be. We tend to deny the sense of self, and I think that really creates a lot of difficulties and problems for a lot of religious people. And so when I talk about self, I'm talking about a healthy self, not a selfish self, but a healthy self. Because out of a healthy self, we then can give to others and love others in a healthy and mature way. Codependents also experience the pain of guilt. There's a great book called When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. That was a book I read many, many years ago, but it was a very eye-opening and helpful book, that someone can actually say no and not feel guilty. My life was racked with guilt as a codependent, and I think for most codependents, guilt is something that keeps the codependency in place. You can't find and have a sense of self because who's going to get hurt around you? How are you going to make somebody unhappy around you? Your family of origin, your parents, your husband, your wife, your children, your pastor, your other friends, your co-workers. You will feel guilty for finding and owning a sense of self and your own choices and what's healthy for you. That is opposed to having a healthy life, and that you should feel guilty about that. That's a common theme for codependents. Codependents also experience and feel the sense of worry and fear. There's often worry and fear that's going on a very regular basis. Certainly enmeshment is a part of the pain of codependency. We are often enmeshed with friends, co-workers, spouses, children, and that enmeshment is, while on the one hand produces kind of a nice, cozy, oceanic feel where we feel, quote, connected in some way, but enmeshment always comes at a loss of self. We don't enmesh without losing a sense of ourselves. And losing or giving up that sense of self really is painful. Codependents also tend to feel a lot of neediness. They are needy. And with that neediness, we never have our needs met. We never feel filled up inside. And out of that neediness, we're always looking for more because our cup is never full. And as a result of that cup never being full, we're always looking to try to fill that cup. And we try to fill that cup with others, from others, by doing for others, and that creates a real problem and pain. We have, I think, as codependents, a pain of having a susceptibility to problems within a system.
For example, I know people whom say, let's take a church. I know from my own background, and one person is unhappy in the church, and that creates anxiety throughout the whole church. And we as codependents are susceptible to that anxiety, that system anxiety. But the same can be true at work. Somebody becomes unhappy at work, and now all the codependents are all pinged. The system has pinged them about that anxiety, and they don't feel a sense of calm or non-anxious presence. They're now anxious because somebody's unhappy. Same in family of origin. So having that susceptibility that's always there really creates some difficulties and pain. The codependent feels a low sense of self-worth and a low self-image. Maybe they don't really feel they deserve to be who they are, and that others wouldn't love them if they really knew who they were. And so we're always playing the image game and making sure everybody is happy with our image. Are they happy with us? Not just being who we are. And that creates a lot of pain because we don't feel good about who we are. And we weren't taught that we should feel good about who we are. Codependents experience pain by experiencing the emotional noise of our unresolved past. There's always that noise emotionally going on in us because of unresolved problems from family of origin, from growing up, and those struggles still exist. Often codependents feel a lot of shame. Not only do they do things in which they feel guilty, shame is about who you are, not what you've done. And so there's a feeling of shame that I'm not right. There's something wrong with me. And we feel shame. Then the fear of abandonment. And feelings of abandonment is also a part of codependent pain. We feel like and worry about people are always going to leave us. People are always going to be unhappy with us. We don't deserve that people would just love us for who we are. So we always have to be doing things to feel loved. These are some of the pains of codependency, and if you experience these, I hope that you will find help and get help for yourself, because codependency is something you can recover from. Having worked with thousands of codependents over the years, literally thousands, it is very gratifying to see them after a time of therapy begin to have that burden of codependency lifted from them, when they begin to feel good about themselves, maybe for the first time, and feel like they deserve to be who they are, and they can love themselves in a healthy way. I find them finding balance in their lives, in relationships, in work, and in other ways. Actually, codependents are very strong. They're very strong people because they're very good at caretaking, which also means they can take care of themselves once they redirect that in a healthy way. Codependents have lots of strengths in that they are very empathetic, for example. They can empathize and often have over-sympathized with other people. And out of that empathy, they can find empathy for themselves and empathy for others in a very balanced way. I also find codependents really are very insightful people. They just haven't known what normal is. And I might recommend for those who are codependents the book What's Normal by John Friel and his wife. An excellent book on what's normal. Also, you need to hook up with a therapist. You need to find someone to help you with your reality checking and also healing the wounds of the past. If you live in the Indianapolis area, I hope you'll make an appointment. Call me, come and see me. If you don't, and no matter where you live and you have the internet, Skype and FaceTime counseling is available for you. Give me a call, and you'll see on the screen my phone number, my email address. I hope you'll send me your email address. I'll be happy to send you new videos and new information about recovery and healing. I hope this video has been a help to you. I hope you'll join the conversation. Hope you'll like the videos and make comments. I appreciate you watching the video today, and have a great day.